Hey, what's up guys? It's Robbie Woods. Today we're going to install our F104 rear bumper for the Ram TRX with the exhaust. This is a little more difficult install. If you're good with a cutoff wheel and you've ran a grinder before, by all means dig in and do it. If you haven't, there's plenty of shops within your local area that can do this for you. So I'm going to walk you through step by step how we do it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is cut off these ugly moose horn exhausts. It's one of the #1 complaints we hear about in this truck, is that these things hang down below the bumper. We had to get rid of that look. We've got some convenient places to use as references where you're going to cut it. There's this little condensation device. We're going 1/4 inch in front of this condensation collector, and that's where we're going to cut it off. So you're going to see I'm going to take some masking tape and tape a nice perfect line around it so you can follow that with your Sawzall. So you want to be a little ways off the weld, and we gave you enough slip joint that you have a little leeway. I'm just going to take that, tape that around there, end up with a nice straight line, and then we're going to cut that. And this is on the passenger side. You're using the condensation collector on the passenger side as your reference. So on the driver's side, we're not looking at the condensation collector. It has nothing to do with that cut mark. We've put a line 1/4 inch in front of the rear exhaust hanger, and again, we're just going to take some of this masking tape so you get a nice sharp line. About 1/4 inch in front of that weld, because that weld will be really hard. You're going to wear out a lot of bits if that's where you try to cut it. There we go. The next thing we'll do is put on these heat wave safety glasses and get to cutting. So now we've got the pipes cut loose, and Tyler's going to unbolt the exhaust hangers. You won't be using those because our new pipes are a slip fit and they're hung from the rear bumper. One more feature I want to get into before you guys cut the bedsides is this small amount of wiring. There's 2 wires that run underneath the tailgate, and they're, I don't want to say zip tied, but they have the plastic push lock clips that hold them to your bedside. These 2 little wires run out to your corner marker light. You're going to want to pop the clips out and then either zip tie or tape this wire up out of the way so you don't run a cutoff wheel through it the first time like I did. So make sure that you crawl underneath the truck and pin this 2 wire out of the way so you don't hit it with your cutoff wheel. So now that I've got that wiring removed, I'm just going to take a little bit of my masking tape and then take it up here to the side of the bedside, up out of the way, just to ensure that it doesn't fall down into my cut area. I'm going to hit it with the cutoff wheel. So I like to mark everything before I tape it off. You know, getting the Sharpie out and a ruler will typically help you get some nice good straight lines before you tape it. You'll notice there's a really nice conveniently placed hole underneath the bumper, and what I'm doing is holding the ruler parallel with the bumper cutout, and we're just going to extend that cut down into the bottom. So my line that I've drawn is just pretty well parallel with the factory bedside relief. And then on the back side, we're just going to hold the ruler flush up against the pinch. Mark this here. Look at it eye level, make sure you got it parallel flat. The bumper's going to hide all this cutting you do is behind the bumper. Our pocket with the exhaust and the tip fits inside here, so you're not going to see any of this if you cut it properly, but you still want to do a nice job. I'm holding the tape with the pinch roll. I'm just going to kind of follow my line around. So on the driver's side, we're gonna do the same things. We're gonna go into the base of that little hole that's already there that we're gonna run our cutoff wheel up into. Follow the factory bed cutout. Now we cut. So this is the disclaimer about the grinder. I am by no means taking any responsibility for you guys running a grinder. They come with a guard for the experienced professionals like myself, Tyler, my team, the guys around here. We can't always get into the places we need to get with the guard on them, so we do remove them. However, I would not recommend that. That's step one. Leave the guard on your grinder so you don't get hit in the face. The next thing I want to tell you about the grinder is that when you pull the trigger, it's going to spin. And as you can see, it seems that it's spinning counterclockwise. You want the cutting wheel to be pulling itself into the metal. You never cut against this. You want the wheel to be pulling into the cut as it cuts. The third thing I'll tell you about the grinder is these wheels don't blow up if you don't twist this in the cut. But if you cut a nice little 1/8 inch line and you get uncomfortable and you start twisting the grinder, the disc can blow up and hit you in the face. So again, run the grinder safely with safety glasses. You're gonna definitely want a guard on yours. And if you're not experienced with one of these things, we just say take it down to your local fabrication, automotive off-road shop, and they'll be glad to cut it off for you. So what you're gonna wanna do, guys, is cut through the multi-layer structures first before this piece completely falls off. The easy thing to do is just zip around it and cut the outside. However, you'll be stuck with a couple of areas where it's 2 or 3 layers thick. So I've cut right here flush with the bottom of this factory pinch weld, and you can see that this corner is free. Now I'm gonna go down to the bottom and I'm gonna cut through where we're gonna land and get through all those layers. All of it, but it still seems to be attached. So we've got one little layer that I haven't gotten. Now you're going to see where you cut through that inner structure, you're going to have one little 1-inch vertical rib. We're going to cut that off just so it's not in there to cut anybody. It's one more simple cut. We also remove these locating studs here, so this little locating stud's going to go. And the final thing that you're going to have to cut off on your TRX is this little step pad bolt for the bumper. The stock bumper is really flimsy right here, so they have a secondary mount, and we get rid of that. As you guys will notice, I've cut this little pedestal off flush with the top of the tube. A guy could leave it just like that and it wouldn't matter at all. You can't get your cutoff wheel in to cut them flush with this in place. So you can just cut this off as you see here and leave it. However, I want to get rid of this last little piece of material just because I don't like leaving it. Now that all of our cutting is done, I'm going to switch over to a flapper wheel and just clean up where I cut all that stuff off. This video has not been sped up at all. We can cut all this stuff off in under 5 minutes. It's really not very challenging. Now you guys will see I've got the feathering disc out, or flapper wheel. All I'm doing is kind of cleaning up the inside and the outside edges of my cuts. That stuff will be razor sharp when it's done with that cutoff wheel. It's natural instinct to cut it off and want to reach up there and touch your work or see what you did. I'm telling you, don't do that. These unsanded edges will definitely cut through your gloves. So we're just taking this 80 grit flapper wheel and just doctoring up the inside and the outside. Last thing you guys are going to need to do before you put your grinder away is just face the end of these pipes. They're still rough cut from when we cut them with the Sawzall. So you'll take your flapper wheel and just kind of deck off the face of them, clean up the edges so our new pipe slides right over. For anybody that's installed some of our competitors' bumpers, you know that once you take your Dodge Ram or your Ford Raptor apart and put the little plastic sensor clip-ins, they very rarely stay in. Horror stories for most of the install shops. You got to silicone the sensors in. They fell out going down the road. They don't read, all kinds of problems. You'll see we make these little billet sensor housings. These are threaded quarter 20. These are machined out of billet aluminum. There's two little tabs on these sensors that prevent it from sliding in. We cut those off with a pair of dikes, and then they're a nice press fit. The bumpers come with 6 of these. The sensors fit into this thing. We put a little cap on the back of it, and then they're physically bolted in. They will not rattle out. They won't fall out. So as you can see, there's these 2 little locating tabs from the factory plastic. Just cut that one off, roll it over, snip that one off. So after you've cut the little locating tabs off of your factory sensors, they'll plug right into your billet sensor, and then we put a back cap on this, and these bolt in like so. So you're going to take a little bit of your green tape and just fold it over where it works as like a 2-sided sticky tape. Put this sensor housing in, sensors in the housing. Put that little piece of tape on the back side to hold your sensor retainer cap. Now you'll see there's a cap on the back side of the sensor. Sensor's trapped in. There you go, that sensor's never coming out. Now that you've finished all your cutting and grinding and deburring and installed all of the sensor housings and electrical on the bumper, we're getting into the fun part where we're going to hang the exhaust pipes on the bumper and then bolt the bumper to the truck. Your TRX RW rear bumper is going to come with a set of pre-made exhausts. You'll notice that one end is swedged to go over the factory exhaust system, and then the other end has this 4-bolt pattern that's on your bumper. We're going to put the exhaust pipes up on the truck and then let them hang there while you and your help grab the bumper and install it onto the truck for its final assembly. You'll notice once we've installed the pipe and slid it over the factory exhaust system, you've got quite a bit of play, quite a bit of movement. We're just going to let these pipes hang here in the pocket while Tyler and I pick up this bumper and install it onto the truck. The last thing you're going to do after your bumper is centered and adjusted to where the look is just right is bolt these 2 pieces together between the exhaust pipe and the tip. Your TRX rear bumper is going to come with 4 7/16 bolts, some stainless washers, and a couple of nylocks. We like to put the top bolt in, and then with a little bit of the green masking tape that we've been using throughout, we'll just put a little tape over that bolt. This way you're not fighting it as you're trying to get the bumper on the truck. And that's just to hold it in place while you get your hand in there. Now that the bolts are taped in, Tyler and I are going to pick up the bumper and put it on the truck. I'd recommend putting the nut and the washer in your back pocket or somewhere where you can reach it quite easily. As soon as you get the bumper up on there, you're going to want to hold tension on the back of that bolt and start the nut. Now that your bumper's hung and all the hardware's installed, you're going to want to snug it down. Don't tighten it. It still needs to have a little bit of movement and flexibility. We're going to level it off of this little 3rd brake light. And once it's centered and square and level, then we'll attach the exhaust. I'd highly recommend that before you grab the bumper and all your tools and throw it up there and tighten everything, that you slide the exhaust on, grab the bumper and mock it up and make sure that the exhaust pipes aren't too long. What I mean by that is there's a lot of discrepancies in the factory exhaust system from Ram. We've seen some that are a 1/2 inch long, some that are a 1/2 inch short. So we've designed a system with 3 inches of slip. However, if your exhaust is on the long side, even when you cut it right where we tell you to, your pipe could potentially hang up the bumper and not allow it to slide all the way forward. So in a perfect world, you cut the thing off right where we tell you, you bolt the bumper on and everything goes together the first time. However, if you've ever worked on a truck in your life, you know it doesn't always go that way. So just make sure your pipes are cut in the right place and that you got enough clearance, and we hope it's an easy install. You'll notice I'm holding a little bit of the weight of the bumper on this side while he snugs this side. Almost got my fucking finger smashed in between it. You'll notice about 4 inches from the bottom is the final body line on the TRX. We've made that body line continue through onto our bumper. I like putting a piece of tape on the bumper and a piece of tape on the body line of the truck. We snug the bumper where it's still movable, but then you can look at it and you can see your exact height. This side we're about a 1/4 inch low on the bumper, so we're gonna pull that up and then snug it in place. This side's a little high as well. Tyler's gonna loosen it, and I'm just gonna drop it down. Some more. The final step when you're installing your TRX rear bumper with exhaust is installing these badass tips. They're a really cool feature, stainless steel, TIG welded down the middle, and then we actually weld the bolts in like a stud. So you just push them in the pocket, slide the pipe over the studs, and tighten the 4 bolts. You'll notice that the tips fit really tight when you push them through the bumper. We want them to come through this opening square and just have that really sharp appearance, so they might require a little finesse. You're going to want to line the pipe up to the best of your ability. Now that you've installed the exhaust tips through the bumper and the exhaust flange, you're going to grab your 4 1/4 inch nuts, thread those on, and tighten them down. You'll be on the road. Just kidding, guys, you're not on the road yet. Our exhaust system is going to come with 1 clamp per side. You're going to want to snug that clamp just to ensure that there's no leaks from your factory system out the back to our tips. Solid. That concludes the install for our TRX RW F104 rear bumper. We really appreciate your guys' support buying our products, watching our videos, and following along as we build these cool trucks. We hope all the information you need is in there. If it's not, log on to robbiewoods.com. Our phone numbers and emails are listed on the website. You can always call in if you have any questions. And thanks again for buying our products.